Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Happy Friday. We made it through another week together during coronavirus. We've covered a lot this week. We have been here every day this week at 1 o'clock to talk about schools. It's Labor Day. It's time to get the kids back to school, and this year is different. It's more confusing, more difficult, more anxiety-producing, and so we've tried each day this week to give folks a little bit of information so that you can be more prepared, you feel more confident, and really just remember as we go back to school, information is power. We're about facts, not frenzy, and schools will open because they are safe, because we are taking the necessary precautions to limit the risk so our children and our teachers can do what they do best, which is teach and learn in school and do it safely. So I want to say thank you to everybody who has worked so hard on my team to make this possible. All weekend long, we'll continue to work. Had a long call this morning going through where we are on different precautions, and we're at it. We're at it because we know our children deserve a great education, and although this year will be different, I am optimistic and confident that we're going to make the best of it and have a good school year for our kids. Next week, we'll be back to our regular press conference on Wednesday. So this week I've been here every day. Next week, just once, Wednesday, 1 o'clock. I'd encourage you to tune in next Wednesday at 1 o'clock. So we'll begin today with the data, as we always do, and thankfully, it's another good news story. Yesterday, we performed over 8,800 tests. That's amazing. Seems like just, it seems like yesterday we were trying to figure out how we were going to be able to do 1,000 tests a day. Yesterday, we did almost 9,000 tests. Average turnaround time, less than 2 days. And here's the good news. The percent positive rate is 0.7%. Less than 1%. That is a very stable picture. As you think about going back to school, you should know, look at the facts, we are in a very good place. I had Dr. Fauci on with me a few weeks ago, and he said, because Rhode Island is in green, a test positive rate that is so low, you ought to be able to get back to school in person. We saw 58 cases, and thankfully no new deaths. So yesterday was really a good news story in our fight against coronavirus. Today, I'm going to limit my comments to school sports. I would like to just take a few minutes to talk about school sports. Youth sports are vital. It's not just about sports. Any of us who played sports, and I think the 4 of us up here did, know how important it is in the life of a child. It's about having a chance to have a mentor who's an adult, who's a coach, seeing your friends, learning how to get up when you fall down, learning discipline, how to be a competitor, get some fresh air, be healthy. For a lot of kids, it's the reason they stay in school and try hard at school, because they want to be able to play sports. So it has a huge impact, and I know that. I've lived that. I see that in my own children. And so because of that, we've all worked very hard to make it so that kids will be able to play school sports. Over the past months, but particularly the past few weeks, we've worked especially closely with the Rhode Island Interscholastic League to figure out how we could make that happen. And I want to give a huge thank you to Mike and Tom at the Interscholastic League, the executive director and assistant director, for all of your hard work. You guys are amazing. You have a can-do attitude. Every time we give you a challenge, what about this? How are you going to handle that? What about transportation or masks? These folks get to work. They have a can-do attitude. They solve the problems, no excuses. And I have to say, on behalf of Rhode Island's children, thank you for doing all that you're doing. I'm also trusting you to enforce the guidelines and make sure that these guidelines are followed so our kids and our coaches are safe. I also have to thank Director Janet Coit on my team. She's yet another mom who's leading Rhode Island's COVID response, and she's done just a beautiful job, not only with parks and beaches, Leaving the Beach is open for the next few weeks, but with sports. She's been on it at every step, working with the Interscholastic League collaboratively and creatively, so thank you for your hard work. And of course to the Commissioner and Dr. Alexander Scott and the members of their staff. This has been a real hands-on deck effort. So the big announcement for today is I am very excited to announce that there will be school sports in the state of Rhode Island this fall. Like everything else in our lives, it's going to be different and not the way we might want it or the way it was last year, but we will get to play. I'd ask you to please put the slide up. So as we know, as we've learned, outdoor activities are much safer than indoor activities, so we are only allowing outdoor sports for this fall. Only outdoor school sports this fall. School fall sports will play an abbreviated season. Practices will begin as early as September 21st. Competitions will begin a couple of weeks later, and the season will wrap up by Thanksgiving. Now, we have worked, as I said, with the Interscholastic League, which is the league that oversees high school competitive sports. I do want to be clear, however, we hope and expect middle school kids will also have a chance to participate in school sports, and we are issuing the same guidelines for high school and middle school. So what I'm about to preview now are guidelines for safe school sports, which apply to all kids, middle school, high school, etc. As you can see on the slide, we've divided fall sports into 3 categories based on their level of risk and degree of close contact. And the Department of Health was involved in creating these guidelines, and we follow the CDC guidelines. In the green are cross country and tennis. No contact sports, outdoors, very low risk. So those 2 sports, cross country and tennis, will be able to be played competitively this fall with really very minimal changes. The next level is in yellow, indicating a bit riskier, includes soccer, field hockey, and sideline cheer. Now, these sports have more physical contact than cross country or tennis, but we feel it's safe for middle school and high school kids to participate in these sports. They're played outdoors on relatively large fields, and there is an ability to limit the degree of close contact between players. They will, however, be played with certain modifications. It's not going to be soccer exactly the way it was last year. By the way, these modifications will be consistent with what other states across New England are doing. The experts of the Department of Health will be working with the Interscholastic League and DEM to identify exactly what those modifications will look like, and once they are determined in the next couple of weeks, they'll be communicated to school principals, athletic directors, and teams before the start of the season. Now, you're probably going to want to know today, Governor, what exactly are the restrictions? We don't know yet. They're going to take the next couple of weeks to refine them, but you will know before September 21st. It'll be things like new regulations around disinfecting the ball, penalties for intentional direct contact, electronic whistles for referees, restrictions on throw-ins. So that's the kinds of restrictions they're going to consider. We believe that those modifications will allow you to play the game in its essence, competitively, but also keep you safe. Finally, consistent with the proposal put out by the Interscholastic League, football and volleyball will not be allowed this fall. And I know that's a bummer, and I'm sorry for that. Volleyball is played indoors, and all the players touch the same ball, so we don't feel it is safe for us to, right now, have competitive high school volleyball. And football obviously requires very close contact through blocking and tackling. So that, I understand, is a great disappointment to a lot of kids out there. But I don't want you to lose hope. What we are hoping, expecting, and planning for is a season in the spring, which we're going to call Fall 2, which will be the Fall 2 season in the spring, where we hope you'll be able to play football and volleyball in the spring, hoping by then things will be better and it'll be safer. And the Interscholastic League has thought very creatively about how to make that happen within a 4-season format. So again, they've really had a can-do attitude to break down barriers. I am hopeful there will be football in the spring, and in the meantime, stay in shape, maybe run cross-country, and hang in there. We hope that you'll be able to play in the spring. So these are the state's guidelines for fall school sports. They're consistent with the framework developed by the Interscholastic League. Our goal is to give the broad framework for how kids can play sports safely. And then, this is very important, we are telling you what we think is required to keep our kids safe. We are trusting principals, coaches, athletic directors, parents to reinforce these safety guidelines. Parents, coaches, players, athletes, folks at the Interscholastic League, principals, athletic directors, help us out, enforce these guidelines, enforce the modifications. Don't try to look for ways to find shortcuts. The right thing to do is to let these kids play sports, to follow the rules so that they can continue to play sports safely. If it turns out that halfway through the season it's not working, we're seeing outbreaks, we will reconsider the guidelines and have to pull back on school sports, and nobody wants that to happen, and I don't think that should happen. So let's do the right thing. Let's keep each other honest, help each other to follow the rules, and really be strict about the rule following so everyone can be safe and we can continue to play sports. The guidelines entitle students at all schools to play in these sports, including those in districts that are doing full distance learning. So I want to be clear about that, because this will be a question. Providence and Central Falls can play sports. Even in districts where the school committee or superintendent have decided they don't want the children to go back to school, we are allowing the kids in those districts to go ahead and play sports according to these guidelines. We decided it wouldn't be right to punish the kids for the unwillingness of the adults in their district to do the hard work of getting the kids back to school. And particularly in those districts, when these kids are going to be alone and isolated in their room for 6, 7, 8 hours a day, this might be the only opportunity that they will have to have in-person contact with a mentor, in a coach, or with their friends to get out of their house, to get some fresh air, and to be part of a team. So again, huge thank you to all the coaches and everybody who made this possible, and I hope all the kids have fun. Finally today, I want to say a quick word about Labor Day. Good news and bad news. Good news, weather's supposed to be great. It's supposed to be a beautiful, sunny, terrific Labor Day. Bad news is, I hope that doesn't encourage folks to have large social gatherings. I want you to have a good time this weekend. It's the official or unofficial end of summer. But I want to remind you, social gatherings are limited to 15. 15. If you're having a family gathering, a pool party, meeting up at the beach, having a barbecue, having a Labor Day cookout, 15. And I know a lot, this is hard for a lot of people. I get it. I come from a big family. A lot of people say, oh, but Gov, we have our family cookout every Monday on Labor Day. I come from a big labor family. The whole family's going to be there. It's 30 people. You can't do it. If you do it and we find out about it, we'll fine you. It's not allowed. It can't happen. Over the 4th of July weekend, too many folks were out and about in close gatherings, congregating at beaches, at parks, in backyards, etc. And we saw it in the data. More people died than had to. More people went to the hospital than had to. I've had to close bars at 11 o'clock, and we had to push our social gatherings back to 15 people. So I am asking you, please, enjoy your Labor Day. Take a minute to celebrate labor, but please stay outside. If you're near people, for more, wear your mask. Stay inside if you are sick. Get tested if you are sick. No big gatherings. I want to talk specifically to the college kids. We are out in force this weekend at all of the bars and hangouts where college kids typically are. And we expect that college students will not be partying in fraternities, will not be partying in houses in groups greater than 15, will not be crowding into bars, and no college bars will be open past 11 o'clock. And if you are, there will be penalties. And to the colleges, we expect you to enforce these penalties on your students. By the way, I want to say thank you to all the college presidents. They're doing an unbelievable job in difficult circumstances, and I want to thank you for all that you've done. So have a great Labor Day weekend. Let's not have a repeat of 4th of July, and let's just do the right thing. Follow the rules, have a good time, and let's keep us in the stable position that we're in, where we have a lid on COVID, and we're allowed to live our lives, and folks get to go back to work, and the kids get to go back to school.